Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode and a new season of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are starting The Bear Season 4, and today we're on episode 1. The premiere, and I don't think that I was looking, there are no episode titles for the Bear episodes.
It's up now. It wasn't up last night when I watched. So
oh my gosh,
the first episode is titled Groundhogs.
Nice. That's well played by the Bear. This is really strange. It just says The Bear Season 4 Episode 1. I'm like, I feel like most shows will have episode titles. Anyway, there you go, Groundhogs. All right, well, if you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. We're diving fully in, so please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of our conversation. All right, Sarah, episode summary for The Bear.
Are you ready for this classic The Bear summary?
They always have some good ones.
They do. So the summary is, today looks like yesterday.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for this whole season of episode summaries. That's poetic. That's beautiful. That's hilarious. It's so fitting for the way that the Bear is really clever in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything has 10 meanings and it's funny and meaningful all at the same time.
Yes.
Wow. Well done. Well done. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, in TV and Us tradition, we often start out with our episode titles. So, Sarah, what is yours?
My title is Holes.
Nice. Mine is in the same vein. It's bazooka-sized holes. So we were riding the same wavelength.
Yeah, we sure were.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we love the Bear. We are so back. We're back with our crew. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels wild to be back. That we are back in the kitchen with our friends. Yeah. It's interesting though, because I haven't watched The Bear since we reviewed season 3 a year ago. So even starting this, I was like, what happened in season 3? I don't really remember. So, and of course I didn't do like a catch-up episode or whatever. I just dove in and was like, well, we're just going to figure things out as we go along.
Yeah.
But it is nice to be back in the world of the Bear yet again.
Mm-hmm. I think because we did season 1 through 3 kind of back to back. Yeah. So we were like steeped in the Bear for months of our lives. And so I haven't experienced actually having to wait and be back in the world of the Bear. I feel like you have. But the warm fuzzies of being back in the kitchen, back with our familiar faces was so exciting and so thrilling. There's a whole like dedicated montage of little cuts with like every single one of our characters. And so that was really great to see. Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive fully in. Thoughts about this first episode of this new season of The Bear?
I do have a question before we dive in. Yeah. Because I'm just curious, like, your experience, because I don't know about you, but like I haven't seen a lot about this season of The Bear. I haven't seen a lot of buzz online. Even when I'm watching other stuff on Hulu, like I haven't seen any commercials for it. Like obviously we were looking forward to this season of The Bear because we were going to review it on the podcast. So we knew that this was coming out, but I have not seen or heard a lot about it anywhere online, on socials, anything. So I was just curious if you have had that same experience, or if, I don't know, maybe my algorithm is just weird now.
No, I haven't seen it show up much at all. Which I'm surprised by, because this is a show that I would have expected to have that same drum and energy, kind of like the way we just reviewed The Last of Us, the latest season of The Last of Us. And there was definitely that like marketing push. You see the billboards for it. You see the previews for it. There's kind of buzz of like, oh my gosh, we're going to be back in this world again. And I didn't see that at all with the show. I wonder if it's because the last season was a little rough and maybe people are like, I don't know, like there's less anticipation,
Mhm.
but we are holding on the fort and we're here excited about the Bear season 4. But I had the same experience. I am surprised by it too because I know people love this show. So what's happening?
Mhm. And there's been that hype before previous seasons too. And so I was just I don't know, this year seems like markedly different from past years. And I don't know, I just find that interesting and notable. But we are here and we are going to review season 4 of The Bear episode by episode. So here we go. Um, yeah, I think for me, this first episode was fine. I didn't love it. It's actually really funny. Uh, the instant that we see Sydney and she has that conversation with Carmi, I was instantly back on the like Sid, you need to leave bandwagon. Like I'm just I was that way all through season
Oh
3
no,
and
I'm gonna fight you on this,
I know.
this
I'm so
season.
sorry. I'm right back there. I'm like, Sid, save yourself, my girl.
Oh.
Um, so I think that there were moments in this episode that I was like, oh, I love that. That's brilliant. That is the bear. That is what I want. But I don't know, it was very weird ending the episode. I wasn't gearing up to watch the next episode, which is very interesting and very different than a lot of the other episodes of The Bear. So it wasn't a bad episode. I didn't have a bad time, but I'm just wondering if maybe my expectations were too high for this season, maybe. I don't know. So I'm curious where we're going to go. Um I don't know. It didn't quite do it for me, but it wasn't bad. It was just fine. What about you?
This first episode is like the oh gosh, the Force Awakens of the Star Wars universe for me. It's like, did it wow me? Is it doing anything revolutionary and iconic? No, but are we so happy to be back? Heck yeah. So I kind of feel like it's also accomplishing, or it seems to be trying to intend to accomplish all the same things that the Force Awakens does, which is let's remember where we were. Let's remember what the dynamics were. Let's remember what the beef, no pun intended, I guess, was between all of the characters and kind of like reset, reestablish the game board and the crew's kind of relationships to each other. And I'm hopeful because there's a very clear goal, it seems. They're still going out for the star, and there's also clear stakes that have been established with a literal countdown timer in the kitchen. So I think that was a problem with season 3 that hopefully is getting solved for in season 4. And we've got like a launching off point. Are we like running down the track? No, not yet. But I think we're like at the beginning, we're getting going. And I think actually the next episode, episode 2, will be telling for kind of the trajectory of this season. So overall, I was happy to be back. There's definitely these little moments that are very much the bear-esque, but they're not too saturated in being the bear, which I think is also notable. It kind of plays it very like cleanly, solidly within its own wheelhouse.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think episode 2 is gonna be a big deal. It's gonna kind of let us know where we're going and kind of what to prepare for this season. But yeah, I really appreciated how this episode kind of level set everything for us because, like I said, I have not watched The Bear in a year. I did not remember what happened in the final episode of season 3. I just remembered being not happy. And so this episode does a good job of like, oh yeah, this is what happened. Oh yeah, the review. Oh yeah, this is what happened with Sid and Shapiro and all of that. So I appreciated how this kind of eases you it back into the pool. We're not cannonballing in, but we're just, taking it one step at a time back into the pool. That is the bear.
Yeah, we're wading in the shallow end with all the kiddos. I I do think that I was thinking about this a little bit after watching the episode. Like, we've seen so many genius moments from the bear in previous seasons. Specifically, I think season 2 was incredible. That I think it's kind of tough because we know what the show is capable of, and so anything that is just great isn't as good as the exceptional that we know that it's possible. So it unfortunately the show has done such a great job in the past that it sets such a high bar for itself, which I think is going to be kind of its challenge. Like, can you wow us again in new, fresh ways? And I'm hopeful that there's a couple of little details and moments in this episode that I think give me a lot of hope. Like, for example, I'll list one of the ones that I really loved. Opening scene. We start with a flashback. Very interesting, very smart. The emotional core of the show is Mikey and him being the root in the center, and Carmi having to process so much. And it's also where the dream for the bear came from. So genius to start with that. But the amount of close-ups of the tomato sauce was so good, so clever. I think it so subtly pulls on our heartstrings. It knows that we remember the significance of the tomato sauce, and it's continuously cutting back to that. There's also this really great like narrative tension because they're talking about the opening of the restaurant, but we know as the viewers that they do open, and we know what Mikey did to help launch that and to fund so much of that to make Carmi's dream come true. And so just that whole sequence I thought worked really well for me, and a lot of little genius details in there that are woven in to reward those of us that are paying attention and that love the show so much. So that opening I thought was really, really strong. What are your thoughts about the opening? Unexpected? Different when you thought?
Yeah, yeah, I think the opening was solid, and I think especially the detail of them being in their mom's kitchen too, was also just, an added one of those little details, to pay attention to. I thought it was also really funny. At one point, Carmi says the line, "We could make it calm." And that was like one of his visions for this restaurant. And I busted up laughing because I was like, Carmi, you have not seen this show. You don't know what you are going to become, my guy. And so I thought those little details were really, really funny and really well placed. I also loved how much Carmi references over and over and again. He says, we could take care of people. And I that's something that we talked about a lot. I don't remember which season of the show we talked about it, but that is something that he and Sydney both share, is that one of the ways that they take care of people is through food and creating this delicious food and this experience for them. And so I thought that that was a really
So
interesting
good.
way to kind of like take us back to the the like core of who Carmi is, that is easy to get lost in amidst the yelling and the menu changes and the going after the star and all of the things,
Mm.
but like the origin of it is this desire to care for people.
That's so good. He says to Mikey too, I jotted this down, every good memory happens in a restaurant. And there's such a connection point, I think, for us as the audience watching this as well, because we feel that as well. We live that experience out, so many memories after sports games or for birthdays that happen communally around the table. And so it establishes our connection to these characters, but then we kind of just immediately buy into their dream and their heart behind their dream. And so it helps us endure all of the fights and the yelling that happens later on in the episode. Should we talk about that?
Because there is, man, there are some confrontations in this episode.
There is. There is. I love it. I think it's very true to life. Specifically, the moment where Richie starts with this apology where he says, like, I could be doing better. And then within seconds, it absolutely derails. Carmi and Richie are screaming at each other. And that's so real. Like our first attempts at apologizing and reconciling aren't always really that perfect and that great. So I love the way that they do that because we in the bear have seen very true heartfelt apologies. But I love that there are some that look a little like this, like they don't reconcile at all. It just kind of re-brings up everything that they've been fighting over and the imperfectness of the humans trying to do better, but failing to do better and trying again, I think is also the heart of the show too.
Well, and I love that that moment kind of continues this, like the divergent paths of Carmi and Richie that we've seen throughout the show, and because before Richie comes in and attempts his apology, that whole scene starts with Carmi trying maybe to apologize to
Oh yeah, that's
Sydney.
right. That's yeah,
I
that's
was
good.
just like, nah, dude, this ain't it. Sydney wasn't buying it either, so I was like, yes, my girl. Um, and so I love that both Carmi and Richie are trying to grow in some way. They are trying to become better humans. They're trying to become better communicators. Like all of these things, they're
Yeah.
trying to work at it, and they're just going about it very differently. And I think in some ways, Richie is a lot more successful on his growth journey than Carmi is, because Carmi
Yes.
doesn't seem to get it at all. And Richie, while flawed and not always doing great, he seems to understand some things and understands the trajectory that he's walking, whereas Carmi is just like, no, I'm gonna do better, but that's not the issue. Like, Carmi, that's not what it is. So I loved that those conversations happen in the same place, and they don't happen back to back, but they happen kind of at different parts of a continuing conversation. And I loved that that contrast is reintroduced, because that was a
Mm,
pretty consistent thing. I think it was in the last season that we talked about that a lot. Maybe it was season
yeah.
2. And so I'm curious to see how both of their trajectories go in this season, because they seem to be going in different directions at different paces, and that's just going to be interesting.
Yeah, I remember we talked a lot about how they are so similar in a lot of ways, and they can ironically see what each other needs in a lot of ways, which then fuels their ability to deny each other that and to get under each other's skin. And also the way that they deal with things are very, very different as well. So this is not looking well because Richie had some great growth over the previous season. So I'm like, this cannot be the season of Richie's downfall. I'm gonna just cry into my pillow. It's gonna be so sad. And maybe Carmi will finally grow, because he's had some devolving over the last 2 seasons or so. So maybe this is his time for their kind of their paths to go in opposing directions. Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what
Oh
they do with
man.
Richie, because I don't want you to be sad and heartbroken for an entire season if your guy is just struggling.
It's time for him to struggle. I think he's done too
It
much growth.
probably is.
We got to keep this realistic.
It's true.
Yeah. Little moment, little thing. I just love that Sugar's on the phone and she hears them starting to fight and she's just like, okay, bye. It's great. She's got a child to
Mhm.
take care of. She's got other
Mhm.
things to do. So,
I also
great job,
love
Sugar.
I also love that even in the like through the phone, the second that Neil walks in, "Hi, my love." Like she she loves Fack so much, and I will never understand it. But I appreciate
Nope.
the way that the show is always like bringing that up in little ways. And where anybody else, she would rip somebody's head off. She's like, "Oh no, it's okay, sweetie," even through the
Yes.
phone. It was so good.
Also seeing the way that their uncle is just like going in on Carmi, going in
Yes.
on Richie, but then Sugar comes in, hi, darling. There's just this like softness, this magical
Mhm.
spell that Sugar has with all the dudes here. It's so funny. It's so
Mhm.
funny.
As she
Mothering
should.
all of them,
Yeah.
honestly, really is what she's doing.
She's like
She's
she's like the only one
taking
who
care of
has it
them.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so good. Okay, other big things to note in this episode.
Well, while we're talking about it, like one of
Yeah.
my favorite moments in this episode is the Uncle Jimmy and computer scene. I thought that that was just so brilliant the way that it was done, and is a reminder of all the things that the bear does really well. And having all of these different characters coming in and out over the course of the conversation, everybody like kind of like then having side conversations or wanting to derail things or having to explain what the parachute is like 7 times because people don't get it. Like, I thought that that was a really good moment to show all of these characters and the relational dynamics, while also, as you referenced earlier, creating more tension and stakes and really making it clear for us as the audience, just what they're up against in this season and what the deadline is. So, in addition to being hilarious, it's also filled with really good foundation laying for the season. So, I really loved that whole kind of extended scene that we get with all them.
That's so great. It's so great. It also plays up things that have been already set up in previous seasons too, around like Carmi's inability to do math, and that whole bit that they do again and again throughout that sequence. The pace of conversation again is very much the bearer, and it's just so good to be back. The show trusts that we can keep up, and so people are talking over each other. They're talking quickly. They're throwing really funny, really clever zingers back at each other. And so just the kind of like the mental stimulation of it, I thought was so exciting to be back here again. The show trusts that we can keep pace with it. And that's a perfect example of we're getting every joke and every glance and every facial expression as it's zooming at us. And so good to drink from the fire hose again. I love it.
And the other scene that's kind of like that, which I also loved, was when Chef Jess comes in and she is
Yeah.
just like rapid fire. Like, we're doing this, this is the system, this is how we're doing it. You're going to, get in line with what I'm doing. This train is rolling, get on or get off. Like, she is just so like bam, 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 bam. And
Mhm.
I loved how they did all of that for all the reasons that you just said. Like, it is very much how the bear operates, those quick cuts, fast paced, and but we can follow it. We understand. You don't have to have worked in the kitchen to understand what's going on. And so I thought that was such an effective scene, and also just really cool to see her leadership in this kitchen, because we've
Mm,
seen how the kitchen is run under Carmi. We've seen how the kitchen is run under Sydney. Now we're seeing somebody else
that's good.
expedite and like really take control of this, who is an Sydney and Carmi are both very good at what they do, but this is Jess's domain and
Yes.
she is a boss. And so it was just so cool to see her like step into that and take control of it, and just a really fun bit of filmmaking too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love too that we get that small little scene where she gives Tina the timers and is so encouraging because we kind of have gotten a sense for who she is at a high level in the Olivia Colman episodes with Richie, but we don't really know her that well. And even when she's just like barking out like orders and running the show, like we don't know her heart, we don't know her soul, we don't know her being. And I thought that was such a little moment to showcase how much she's not just operationally incredible, but like she sees people and she sees what they need and how they can feel encouraged. Because obviously it sucks if you have to figure out how to make a pasta in under 3 minutes and you can't do it and it's hard. But I felt encouraged for Tina watching Jess give her the timer and being like, you got this, you can do it. Like practice, but like you got this. And so that little bit is really fascinating. I'm curious to see how much the show will continue to play up her character or have her kind of integrate into the crew, or if she's just here for a couple episodes and then is going to be off to the next thing. Like is she here to stay? She seems to be fascinating and adding a lot of heart to the show.
And they need her.
They
I
need
don't know
her.
how they're affording to like pay all these folks from Ever, but
I know.
they are a
Barely here.
welcome addition because they know how to run things very, very well. So I think
Yep.
that is helpful for, I think, the goal of the bear, but I think it's also going to provide an opportunity for some really interesting points of tension too, because our crew has been together. They know each other. They know how they operate, even though it's dysfunctional. And now you have these, like, what is it, three really professional people who are experts at what they do coming in. And that's going to be a good source of some tension if the show wants to really like play that up and go that route.
Yep. Yep. So good. So good. One aspect that I was thinking about with Jess being brought in and kind of the main challenges that the bear faces right now, this restaurant, the bear, not the show, is just this tension between kind of artistic vision and creativity in contrast with what it takes to operationally run and execute. I just love that the show is showcasing how challenging that is. And even when there is this beautiful concept and this dream, and you've got all of the right talent together, there's still the job of having to get it done and get it done well and to run all of the operational efficiencies of it. I think Sugar's role in previous season kind of showcased some of this of figuring out the finances, figuring out the funding, figuring out the supply chain. But I love that we really see it on full display here. And I feel like it's so true in a lot of like creative or artistic endeavors, is that there's oftentimes this other engine that needs to be in place that really fuels success. So success isn't just dependent on the talent. It's actually also all of the people that are talented in these other areas beyond just the vision and the creativity aspects of it. So I love that we're seeing the challenges of that on full display here. It really, I think, is valuable to showcase both sides and seeing the tension and the need for both.
Yeah, yeah. And, a point of growth too is understanding, like for someone like Carmi, who is the creative kind of engine behind it all, he needs to understand that you need that other side of it too. So I'm very curious to see if Carmi will learn a lesson in this season. Like, because even the whole, like, you have 2 months and then you're done thing, his reaction is, but what if we get a star? I'm like, buddy, that's not the answer here. So I'm curious how all of those, nuts and bolts pieces are going to collide with Carmi and his creative vision, because that was such a source of tension for the last episode when you had people like Sugar and Sydney and even Richie going, buddy, you cannot do this. Like, this is not how you run a restaurant. So it's going to be interesting if in season 4, Carmi will learn those lessons and understand what the others around him are saying and help him, I don't know, learn a lesson and figure out how to run a restaurant. We'll see what happens.
We shall see indeed. Okay, any other big things that we should mention before we give out some TVNS awards, which we'll explain in a hot sec?
I did want to shout out both Ibra and Tina. They have
Mm.
that quick conversation with each other, and their dynamic is just so fun.
Oh, so good.
But I loved that in that conversation, you see how much both of them have grown. And, Ibra, I think it was the last season, he didn't go to the culinary classes with Tina like he was supposed to. But now he is taking steps forward and he's killing it in his part of the business.
Yes.
And then you also see Tina when they were talking about the review, her kind of response to the review is take some of the positive, take some of the negative. And that just felt like such a good moment of growth for Tina. And we've seen her grow over the course of these seasons. But when you think back to season 1, and she was just not willing to take feedback, not willing to change things, this was the way that it was going to be done, and this is how it has to be done. And we've seen her over the seasons learn to adapt and change and all of those things. And now you're seeing that wisdom that she has gained of, like, when somebody gives you feedback, you can take some of it and improve. And I don't know, I loved that conversation between them. It was not only funny, but it shows how both of their characters have grown so much over these seasons. And I love that for both of them because they're both so great.
I love the side characters. Like, they get so little screen time sometimes, but they have full arcs. Like even oh my gosh, Sweeps Gary, full on sommelier. And even those moments where he's like, yo, it's kind of hard to remember these years and all this kind of stuff. Like, that's so real. But we've seen him grow and blossom from just being hands and feet at the beginning of the show to, like, he's equipped himself with all these new skills and he's serving in really fascinating ways. So yeah, it's neat to see all these side characters grow and contribute and have full blown arcs, though we might not see all of it all the time. Yeah, that's so good. Um, One other bit that I thought was really funny, but also like interesting, perhaps like meta commentary on the state of the world today, is Chucky the robot that does all the delivery of the beef sandwiches. I thought that that was a fascinating, like, little addition. But I think every industry is being transformed by AI and technology explosion that's happening right now, and seeing the way that the food industry, with all of the new apps and delivery services and stuff, is having to adapt, is really fascinating. So I always love when the bear weaves in these kind of like larger thematic meta commentaries on the industry and society. There's a lot in previous seasons with like the town of Chicago and the local neighborhoods and some of the dynamics that are happening there. So I thought that was such a specifically chosen and woven detail. The whole episode would be great without it, but that addition there and what that will do for their sales and their profits is just really fascinating to have woven in there. So that felt like such an intentional detail. It's also just really funny. They have a whole mascot now.
They do. The other piece that I love about that is when I don't remember who the character is that brings up Chucky to Uncle Jimmy, but Uncle Jimmy and the computer are instantly like, "Yes, go!" Like not even a second thought about this new technology that exists. And I think that that's also a really interesting commentary on, like venture capital and all of that. The people with the money are like, ooh, a shiny new AI thing, a shiny new robot. Like, yes, I'm going to invest in that without any other thoughts about what that could lead to or anything like that. So I think that's another aspect that's really interesting about how that conversation went down, that these guys with money and numbers were like, robot, yes, signed. Your stuff that you need, Carmi, no, but a robot, yes. And I thought that that was really funny and indicative of our world.
And I just hope we get a whole bit at some point in the season where Chucky's just wreaking havoc because it's malfunctioning. I want
Yes.
it to be like R2D2 just like being upset and rebelling. I think that would be so funny, so chaotic, and a really great little bit. So hopefully we
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Chucky ain't so obedient all the time, okay? Like it's got some
Also,
feelings and it'll
yeah.
malfunction. It ain't perfect.
You named it Chucky, which probably the most iconic Chucky is a horror movie. So like I feel like
Yes,
it's
they're teaming up.
perfectly set up for some sort of chaos to be, I don't know, wreaked on the poor streets of Chicago.
Yep. Yep. Just sandwiches littered through the streets with like wrappers floating and rolling in the wind. Oh, it'd be good. Okay. Should we give some TV&S awards? So this is a segment, a bit that we like to do in all of our TV&S episodes, a little tradition of ours. We give out fake awards for fake categories to all of our favorite characters, moments, lines of dialogue in the show that we're watching because we just love to spread the love. So our three categories for the bear are top chef, given to a character. For what reason and why is up to our choosing. The second category is achievement and chaos. Lots of candidates for this all the time, always. So, given to a moment from the episode that is peak chaos. And then the third category is spiciest line. So, someone's doling out some zinger that guts you in your chest a little bit. Okay, so first category is Top Chef. Sarah, what is your pick for this one?
Yeah, I want to give it to my guy Ibra for killing it with the sandwiches. That is the only profitable part of the business. Way to go, Ibra. We're
Yes.
proud of you.
That's so true. I know he's holding this whole operation afloat single-handedly at this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
it's
good.
impressive.
Mm-hmm. My choice for Top Chef, it goes to Sid for not taking Carmi's BS apology. She
Yes.
calls him out in the kindest, sweetest way that only Sid does, but she is firm. She's like, "You're shutting down. That was not specific enough. I need you to do better." So good.
Ugh, she's so great. I am excited for more Sydney lines and
Yeah.
just more moments with Sydney because she's so great.
Her facial expressions are just gold
Ugh.
too. She's like, "What? You called that an apology? My dude, come on. Love you, but please."
But also no
Yeah.
boundaries. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, next category is achievement and chaos. What's your choice?
I would like to give this to Richie's elegance for blowing the flour budget.
He goes, I blame it on my elegance.
It was so good.
My gosh, it's so great. It's so great. But then he's like, okay, okay, I'll tone it down. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, you're right, you're right. As Sugar's losing her mind.
Yes.
Oh. And he's standing next to this like massive bouquet.
Giant. Yes. Like, my
Oh,
goodness,
great.
Richie, your elegance is out of control, my dude.
It's so great. It's so great. My choice for achievement and chaos is in the ending montage bit with all the fast cutting of like charts and statements and vendor payments and invoices. There's a good versus fucked pie chart. And I think it's like yellow and it's just all 100% in the second category. So I thought that was so great. And I just imagined the computer in his little basement hole with his single bulb desk lamp, just being like, "This would be funny." So,
Oh, it's so good. And Sugar's the only one that reads the charts that
yeah,
the computer lovingly color coded. So I'm sure that Sugar got a good laugh out of whatever report that was on.
so good. Okay, next category is for spiciest line. What is your choice for this one?
I would like to give it to the a line from the newspaper review,
Oh,
which says, "The bear stumbles with culinary dissonance." And I, number one, loved that because, yes, it is correct. And number two, wow, what an insult. It was just, man, so good, so spicy.
that's great. That's so good. Culinary dissonance. Dissonance. To which I think Uncle Jimmy says, dissonance, bro. Oh, man.
Oh, so good.
So great. Okay, my choice for spiciest line is the computer. Too carmy about the charts. I color coded them for you. Ooh, so
I
good.
loved it. I
Expressing
loved
his
that line.
intelligence so gracefully. Man,
And Carmi still couldn't get it, even with the colors.
yeah. Okay, looking ahead, what are you excited to see in the next episode or just with the season? What are some arcs or moments that you're hoping to experience?
Yeah, we will see kind of just where this show
Yeah.
goes, you know. I'm very curious to see what the second episode
Mm,
does cuz I don't know, man. Season 3 was really hit or miss for me
yeah.
and it kind of felt like one half of a season of TV.
Mm,
So I'm curious what they're doing and where they're going to go. You know, obviously I'm rooting for Tina and Ibra. Um,
yeah.
you know, hopefully Richie will be able to pull back on his flour budget and keep things together. But I'm curious to see what Jess is able to do with this crew because nobody so far has been able to really like rein in Carmi and make this work. And so, will she be able to do it or not? And then, as of right now, I'm rooting for Sid to jump ship. So, you know, we'll see how this goes and if there's a good enough reason for her to stay or if she will leave
Yeah.
to either do something on her own or go with Shapiro, whatever. But I'm curious to see what they would do with her character too, because she has some options, which is exciting, but also kind of stressful.
Yes. That was one of my things is Sid's choice. I think that this episode definitely teased that up as like one of the big emotional cores and perhaps like big moments that's pending source of tension for the show. In the fight kitchen sequence, there's so many fast little cuts to Sid just kind of like you can see she's contemplating. You can see she's having lots of thoughts, being like, I don't why do I need to deal with this anymore? Like I've got an offer. And you see that inner turmoil, that inner conflict when she gets the phone call from Shapiro and chooses to ignore it too. So I think it's so, one way or another at this point. And so what events will occur that's going to tip her one direction or the next. But it seems to be one of the big kind of emotional stakes of this season specifically is can this team get it together, not even just to keep the restaurant alive, but to keep Sid as part of the family? I'm rooting for her to stay. But that leads into my second thing, which is Carmi's growth. It feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we've had 2 whole seasons of Carmi just devolving in so many ways. So I don't know. I think it's time for him to grow, but I think it's going to take some time as well. So, how and what will allow Carmi to feel safe and rooted and just comfortable enough in this team that he doesn't need to constantly prove himself? I think so many things that Sid says to him in that opening scene are so on point. Like, you are accustomed to dysfunction as because of his family dynamics and a lot of the childhood trauma he's experienced, but how does he move forward? How does he overcome? And what characters will come and play a big role in that? So we shall see.
We shall. We will be here
Well,
watching every episode. We're
yes,
ready.
indeed. Yep. All right. Well, this was our review and discussion of episode 1 of The Bear season 4. You can find it available to stream on Hulu. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we kicked off our journey through this new season of Bear. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about some of the big moments in this episode. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVNSPod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TVNS and our other podcast, Movies and Us. Also, by the way, we are on video. So if you're listening to this episode in your audio podcasting platforms, we're over on YouTube at TVNS Pod. So you can see our faces, you can see our facial expressions as we rant, react, feel joy and frustration with all the things that are happening in the show. So that's over there on YouTube. In the meantime, we'll be back soon to discuss episode 2. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.